So we have this John Sayles theme on Filmstruck right now, and it's been there for months. And I was like, I'll get to it, because I had only seen one of the John Sayles films that we're featuring. I've seen several of his films, but of the ones that we were featuring, I'd only seen one. So I was like, I'll watch them. They're expiring on Friday, and I'm going out of town. So today was the day I had to watch all of them, or I was not going to get them watched. So I spent the day doing laundry and washing dishes, and in between that, watching John Sayles films. 4 John Sayles films to be exact, and it was quite good. The thing about John Sayles is I've never seen a film of his that I didn't enjoy. So knowing that you're gonna watch 4 in a row is you're in for a good time. And the other thing about John Sayles is he never makes the same movie twice. He never covers the same themes twice. Everything always seems fresh and new and different, and yet distinctly Salesian. And so he's just a great filmmaker. So the first film was his debut film, The Return of the Secaucus 7. Now, Secaucus is in New Jersey. This film is set in New Hampshire. You find out why it's called Secaucus 7 towards the end of the film. It's similar to The Big Chill, but it was released 3 years before The Big Chill, and it was from an original screenplay by John Sayles. He worked for Corman, like many of these early directors, and used the money that he was paid writing screenplays for Corman, including things like Alligator and Piranha, to make this film. This film was a huge success when it came out. It is 7 people plus a few others who are reunioning for a 3-day weekend in this cabin in New Hampshire. They have all known each other since college, high school, kind of stuff like that. They're a bunch of baby boomers. They're in their 30s. The youngest ones just turned 30, and they're looking back on their life and figuring out like where they fucked up and where they, what's good, what's bad, and basically just where they are and catching up. And it, much like a lot of John Sayles' films, there's not a plot that's like X happens and then B happens and then you get to see. It's really several vignettes with the various characters revealing different things about themselves to the different people depending on who they're with. And it was really great. It definitely, I'm sure there's aspects of it that I didn't understand because I'm not a baby boomer, and there were clearly lots of references to things where I was like, I'm not sure what this is. I'm wondering, like, if there's been, like, a millennial version of this yet. We're all 30 now. Oh, God. I should write that. No, someone should. I'll watch it. Every generation, I think, needs, like, one of these we're 30 now, what the fuck films. So this one was before The Big Chill, and supposedly Lawrence Kasdan didn't see it and didn't know about it, but who knows. It has a very young David Strathairn in it, who's made several films with John Sayles. They actually went to college together, and I recommend it. It has a lot of naked man butt, and I'm always behind naked man butt, so look forward to that. The next film I watched was one of 2 films from 1983 that he did. The other one being Baby It's You. That was not on Filmstruck, but it's available from Olive Films, I think, and I'm going to try to rent it. But this one was Lianna, which is a film about a woman who is in an unhappy marriage. She's been in this marriage since college. She dropped out of college to marry her professor. She's had children. They're not happy. You can tell they're not happy. Her husband cheats on her. This has happened before, and she's sick of dealing with it. At the same time, she meets a woman that she has an attraction to, and she realizes through meeting this woman that she's probably always been a lesbian and just didn't have the language for it, didn't know how to express it, and that's how she ended up sort of making life decisions that weren't necessarily the best for her. So the rest of the film follows her sort of coming to terms with her own sexuality, coming out to her friends, trying to make it work with the woman that she meets, trying to navigate being friends with her or being a mother with her children, dealing with her asshole of a husband. And the thing I liked the most about it was that it was about her sexuality and her coming to terms with that, it was also about her as a person coming to terms with herself and her friendships and how important it is to have friendships and the sweetest part is slight spoiler alert, her best friend doesn't know how to deal with it, and there's a rift in their relationship, and then by the end they sort of come back together, and with her friend sort of learning to be a better person. And her John Sayles acts in this, and he's quite funny as this guy who, when the friend is like, I don't know how to deal with this, and he's like, I'm from California, we understand these things. I was like, that's a good line, even though John Sayles is not from California. The next film was probably one of the funniest sci-fi films I've ever seen. This is The Brother from Another Planet. Joe Morton is the lead. He's the brother. He does not speak a word in the entire movie. He is an alien. And he lands in Harlem, and at first he's just sort of trying to get along, and everyone in Harlem kind of helps him out because they're like, hey, we need to help this guy. And then these two men in black, played by John Sayles and Jace Heron, they're both have learned English by spouting pop cultureisms. It's hilarious. Are tracking them down, and everyone is either no one is ratting him out, but everyone's either cutting him loose or protecting him. And this film, it was hilarious. There's really great moments of comedy in here, really great moments of sci-fi. And this is a film, I think, that was mostly about a couple of things. One, it was sort of a parable about what it's like to be an immigrant in a new country, and how some people will accept you even if you don't speak the language, and they'll help you, and how important that can be. But it also speaks to having a community, and the ending is just so wonderful, where the community really just comes and is like, no, this is our bro, and we're gonna protect him. It is an interesting film. John Sayles got a Genius Grant after his first 3 films, and he used the money from that to fund The Brother from Another Planet. And I think that's kind of amazing that, like, there's no way this film would have gotten made in 1984. Like, I don't feel like anybody could have sold this movie. And so he was like, whatever, I have a grant, I'm going to make this movie. And the thing about John Sayles is he makes films that aren't like anything else, and that's his purpose, is like, have I seen this film before? No? Okay, I'm going to make this film. And this is a great example of that. The last film that I watched was Casa de los Babies. It's from 2003. It's one of his more recent films. This one is one of his least well-regarded films, but it has an amazing cast: Marcia Gay Harden, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Daryl Hannah, Susan Lynch, Mary Steenburgen, Lily Taylor, and Rita Moreno. It's about 6 women who've come to an unnamed South American country to adopt children, and you see sort of why they're there to adopt children. You see how the adoption agency sort of works in this country, and then you see several other women who have either given up children or are now being forced to give up children, and children that have been abandoned. And so you get to see motherhood and childhood from multiple angles and perspectives in the realm of international adoption and international travel. And it's definitely very left-leaning, and there's definitely several very sort of red-statey characters that are awful, and you're like, wow, you're awful. Marcia Gay Harden is really good at playing awful. My 2 favorite moments, though, there's a moment with Susan Lynch and one of the maids that is so beautiful. And just the 2 of them have such a connection. And then there's a moment with Daryl Hannah and Maggie Gyllenhaal where Daryl Hannah's talking about having lost 3 children in childbirth, and that's why she's now here. And she's very serene about it. And the Maggie Gyllenhaal character is so young. She's just like, I don't even understand how you can recover from something like that. And the film's an interesting sort of reverence for motherhood and reverence for babies, and what comes from the desperation of wanting to be a mother, and what comes from the sort of shame of unwed motherhood, and just a whole lot of different cross sections of socioeconomic relations. I enjoyed it. I can see, I guess, why some people wouldn't. It's very deliberately paced. Most of his films are. It also has an ending that just sort of is, which if you've seen Limbo, you know he does that. For me, I just think John Sayles is a really interesting filmmaker who writes really unique fully fleshed out characters, and definitely writes more interesting women than many. Like he's up there with Moldovar for great women characters. So this was 1980's Return of the Secaucus 7, 1983's Lianna, 1984's The Brother from Another Planet, and 2003's Casa de los Babies. They're all on Filmstruck right now through Friday. Check them out. I think I've seen half of John Sayles' filmography now, and I'm still missing the other half. He's a great filmmaker. If you haven't ever seen a John Sayles film, definitely correct that. He's just very unique cinematic voice, and I quite enjoy his films.